Hi, Amparos. Well, today we're going to revise passive voice in a very simple way. Passive voice is a structure that tends to be a little bit complicated, especially for some students or some learners of different languages, because it tends to be artificial in some of those languages. For example, in Spanish, passive voice tends to be pretty technical and it tends to be in academic texts, okay? But in English, passive voice is a structure that appears all over the place, so it's very important for you to be able to recognize it and use it, okay? Let's get started.
Well, first things first, what is this passive structure for? Well, passive structure gives more importance to an element by putting it at the very beginning of the sentence, so it's an emphatic structure. These are some examples. I gave Amparo a present. You gave Antonia a present? No, Amparo was given the present, not Antonia. So here, as you can see, Amparo is being highlighted because it appears at the very beginning of the sentence. More examples. I gave Amparo a present. You gave Antonia a parrot. A present was given to Amparo, not a parrot pitch. So here, in this case, we are highlighting a present because it appears at the very beginning.
Well, using the passive structure, that is, transforming an active sentence into the passive counterpart, is a piece of cake. First, you need to locate the part of speech, the word, that you want to emphasize. Normally, they usually appear after the verb. They're called objects, okay? So you take that object that you want to emphasize and you put it right at the very beginning, okay? Then you select the previous subjects. It's going to go right at the end of the sentence and it's going to be called agents. It would need the preposition by. We're going to use or mention this agent when it is extremely relevant for the information of a sentence. Otherwise, don't say it, it's not necessary.
Here, you can see how the agent works. For example, the first two sentences at the top of the screen are not very correct because the information that you're saying with the agent is kind of irrelevant or it's not necessary or you can presuppose it from the context. For example, this building has been built by a builder, of course, who else? Or the thieves were arrested by the police. So, come on, that's super. But this presentation is being conducted by Ruben the Great. Absolutely correct, man.
The most relevant change that we're going to find in a passive transformation is that of the verb. Passive needs verb to be and the past participle form. The past participle is either the ed form in the case of regular verbs or the third column in the case of irregular verbs. The verb to be will always keep the same tense that we found in active. All right, and the past participle form will remain stable, so there is no necessary change. The past participle never changes. It has no plural, it has no tense.
Here you can find the example of the passive structure, that is, the verb to be in orange and the past participle form, either ed for regular or third column for irregular, like the present is given, it's present simple, or the present was given. The past participle form never changes, but the verb to be does. Here are some examples, like Amparo drinks beer non-stop. The verb drinks appears in the present simple, so the verb to be in passive will appear in the present simple too. Then remember how to do it? You take first be, the object, and then right at the beginning. So be is the new subject. Then Amparo will go right at the end with the preposition by, because that's the agent, by Amparo. And the most important transformation goes there, right in between, and that's the verb. So be is drunk non-stop by Amparo. Or it could be in the past simple, like Amparo drank beer non-stop. So be was drunk by Amparo. In this case, the verb to be appears in the past simple because the original active counterpart was the past simple too. Another example goes with the future, like Amparo will drink beer non-stop. So in this case, beer will be drunk. Because the future simple appears in active, then the verb to be will copy that future simple too. More complicated cases, for example, in the present continuous. In this case, is drinking will become is being drunk. So the present continuous form appears in the verb to be, and the third column appears stable all the time. It's not changed. A bit more complicated. So with the present perfect, Amparo has drunk beer non-stop. So in this case, the present perfect appears in the verb to be. So it's beer has been drunk by Amparo. Is it right?
Well, is it right? I told you that it was going to be very simple. So now the only thing that you have to do is practice, 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 okay, and you will get to master the structure. It appears all over the place, as I told you before. So it's very common to find passive structures everywhere, all right? Well, I'm off, motherfuckers. See you soon. Bye. Passive voice sounds kind of complicated because it's pretty artificial in some languages, as it, for example, or the third column in the case of irregular verbs, right? These passive voice, the past participle, remember, is either the ed form of the regular verbs or is the third column in the case of irregular verbs. Joder, chaval, pero bueno. The passive voice. Ay, pero me muero.